All right. So the victims list of the alleged serial ritualist cultist Levi Obieze, aka Ezani, aka Ideplay Ideshow, is increasing like the inflation rate of some African countries. This guy is currently in the grips of the law, and as far as he's saying that he's innocent of all charges and allegations being leveled against him. But in case you are not privy to the story, just check my playlist. You'll see the main thing he's been accused of, due to the fact that some human remains have been found in his house being constructed for him, and everything that flows from that part of the story, leading to an arrest of another person alleged to be his accomplice, who turns out to be a very prestigious and seemingly holy and religious businessman. Turns out he's alleged to also be involved in these money rituals at the expense of people's lives. Now, a new development has come out again. I told you that this case looks like one of those cases that keeps metamorphosing as the developments go by, as the police make more arrests. This case is going to keep expanding because it looks like there is a whole syndicate to this, and also a whole lot of victims to this, some of whom are even yet to be identified. And as it stands now, per what you watched at the beginning of this episode, in case you are wondering what it's depicted, that is actually a true live footage of some students of a school in that same community where all these atrocities happened, who have moved from their school to the premises of Ideplay Ideshow, Levi Obieze, to go and cast a spell and a curse on him and his generations. Because, as it stands now, preliminary allegations are indicating that one of their colleagues, who went missing after writing an exam, may probably be one of the victims of this so-called money-making ritualist and occultist. That is where the story has branched off to, or let me say, that is one branch of the story that is still evolving. So, this state in Nigeria called the Enugu State has been plunged into deep mourning and horror since this case came up. And prior to the exposing of this ritualist or this cult leader, or alleged cult leader, pardon my legal language, alleged cult leader, one person was actually declared missing. They had gone to write an exam, and this person went to write the exam but never came back. Her name was Ezi Chimaobi, and she's a girl. She's in the senior high school, and she was a student of the community secondary school at Enugu. Now, she went to write an exam, and after writing the exam, as is expected, she has to go home, come back the next day, write another exam, just like any student would have done. But unfortunately for her parents, she didn't get home. She did not get back home. Now, according to reports out there, this young girl was apparently taken whilst returning home from school. Now, days later, her remains were discovered in the most chilling of places, that is, in a deep pit hidden inside the compound of this man, now identified as suspected ritualist Ezeani, aka Levi Obieze, infamously known by the nickname Ideplay Ideshow. Now, when they went to this ritualist's home, they saw a lot of things. They saw other remains of other people. Now, the home has been abandoned and has an eerie silence about it. And this home, which was previously a place where people were wishing to go, people were wishing they would be invited to because of the prestige around this man in that community, this home has now become a mourning and a place of rage. It has become a place of mourning and a place of rage. Now, on this D-Day, when this expose came out that it's likely that this suspected ritualist and cult leader is the one behind the passing of this female student, which was just days before he would actually be exposed. When this came out, waves of schoolgirls who are colleagues of this deceased girl went to the place in their school uniforms whilst they were in tears, and tears were streaming down their face. Now when they got there, they gathered around the house and they started raining heavy curses on the alleged ritualist. Their sorrow would eventually then turn into anger as they chanted and cried and invoked divine justice and then demanded accountability. So you see, this is Africa. Maybe you are watching from a part of the world where you may think these things are nothing and whatever you may have in mind about it. But I tell you, history has shown there is a way these things work, especially if the person is guilty. And for them to be doing this, I think there's a deep aspect to it. And I think that this is very unfortunate because per the results out there, or per the reports out there, they indicate that these girls were not just invoking curses on the ritualist leader, but also on his generations. And that is when it becomes a problem, because there's a video of him actually outdooring some twins of his. These kids, I dare say, are innocent. But how do you go and invoke a curse on their father and add his generations to the curse? That means you are trying to implicate his kids as well. That, I think, is the unfair part, but that is what a certain level of pain does. That is how come it's important that his father should have also, or the kid's father, being the suspected ritualist, should have also had in mind that he is also dealing with other people's family members in the atrocities he was committing. To the point that there's a saying in the Bible that the sins of the father shall be visited upon the children. It seems like that is what is playing out here. Arguably, I would say it's not fair on the kids. But then, how do you go and incite pain and come back and want to measure how somebody should react, especially when your pain involves loss of lives? That is how come evil is not to be condoned. This is one of the reasons why we have to learn to look people in the face, tell them the truth, and root evil out of the community. Now, I also struggle to appreciate how come nobody really saw through what this guy was doing up until the 13-year-old girl they were attempting to take the 13-year-old girl, and these vigilantes in the village came in and everything was exposed. Because prior to that expose, he played the show, was actually a key member of the community. He was throwing money at people all around. There are videos of him on social media blessing people with money. Money which now seems to be very, very dirty money, gotten from human sacrifices and all. And these same people had some of their family members and loved ones being victims to this same man as part of his ritual and occultic processes to get the money and come and throw back on them. Check the sources of people's money. It's very important. Don't just take the money and say thank you. Now, according to the students, they were saying that this is not just about the unaliving of their colleague, but it's also about this being the wickedness of the highest order. Another was also saying that the spirit of their colleague would never rest and would never let this suspected cult leader also rest. So you begin to see that this case is far from over. Even as it stands now, although the compound has been abandoned and has now been sealed off by police tape, the house in itself is now looking like a haunted house. It's filled with silence, secrets, and sorrows. To an extent, there are even bloodstains, burnt candles, and ritual symbols found in various premises around the house. Now, there was even a list found with some names suspected to be members of the occult. And this list was allegedly taken out of the house when the people besieged the house. And it was taken by some of the residents of the Enugu township. Now, I struggle to appreciate how that may be admitted in court as evidence against this so-called ritual leader, because I think ideally it's the police who should have gotten this. And I have a problem with the fact that they demolished his house so quickly. I think they should have taken their time, sealed it off of course, but taking their time to go through the place and pick out possible evidence before tearing the house down, to then go and look at what could be buried underneath the foundation. That is what I think. I think the police or security forces may have skipped a step in that, and that step they skipped could be crucial because they could now have compromised some evidence. The list that was found, I have a video or an episode on this same case, another branch of it, where one guy by name Kingsley Uche, aka Agumba, was actually picked up as one of the people who were trying to abduct the 13-year-old girl but failed. And it turns out that he's a prominent businessman in Nigeria and a very Christian-like person. But it seems he's one of the co-conspirators of Ide Play, Ide Show in his occultic activities. And guess what? This Kingsley guy's name was on that same list. So what if the list is actually authentic? Can it actually be admitted to court? Because it wasn't retrieved by the security forces. There could be several excuses or defenses to be put up against any attempt to admit that list as evidence against this guy in court, because the list is not titled as co-conspirators in occultism. It's just a piece of paper with a list and phone numbers. So this case, like I told you, has a lot in store to unravel. And as usual, I'm following the case and I'll bring you updates as and when they are due. But let me know in the comment section, what do you think is going on with this in Nigeria? It seems to be very rampant. It looks like people are seeing money-making occultism as the best way out, instead of diligently working hard to make money, biding their time to grow money and gaining the knowledge to keep the money and invest it. It's very unfortunate that at the end of all this, those who decide to go into money-making occultism actually vent their target on the little children who are vulnerable. And I don't think that's the best. I'm following the case, and like I said, I'll bring you updates as and when they are due. So kindly subscribe, turn on the post notifications, and I'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe out there.